This is a warning. The Grim Reaper of radio, Bob Romanik, with his off-the-record show is about to air. He's probably the nastiest and craziest son of a bitch that you've ever had the misfortune to encounter. The Grim Reaper show will be very controversial and probably quite tasteless. If you are even slightly offended by controversial matter concerning religion, racial matters, politics, or life's problems, you are hereby warned to turn this program off immediately. The Grim Reaper show will be, like his face, very scary and very ugly. At this time, not proudly, but shamefully presents to you Bob Romanik, the craziest son of a bitch on the radio today.
This is Bob Romanik, the Grim Reaper of radio, and you're listening to the all-new KQQZ 1190 AM, simulcasting on KZQZ 1430 AM, America's bi-state voice of freedom, radical radio, and we are, as always, proud to be the Patriot. Here we are on a great Monday morning. We're at 301 River Park Drive in the beautiful town of East St. Louis, Illinois. We're right in front of the City Hall. We're out here supporting the proud members, men and women, of the East St. Louis Police Department. And I'll tell you one thing, being an ex-East St. Louis police officer, I can understand what they're about. I can understand what's going on. I can understand these rotten bastard, no good for nothing, son of a bitch and politician. You pieces of crap. I'll tell you, when there's somebody laying on the street dead because you're not paying these policemen, because you're laying these policemen off, the blood is on your hands, you rotten bastard, political, parasitical punks that we call politicians. We've got police officers out here, not on a picket line. It's an informational rally. They're having an informational rally. Now, let me give you, for people that haven't been by, and anybody, come by the City Hall in East St. Louis, please, and honk and support the proud members of the East St. Louis Police Department. You pass down this street, and you know where it leads to? It leads to the Casino Queen. That's the city's big moneymaker. Now, what's going to happen? What's going to happen one of these days, heaven forbid, that somebody's coming down Missouri Avenue from Belleville, from the outer county. They're coming down Missouri Avenue. They come on to East St. Louis. They get on the River Park Drive going to the casino, and their family gets hijacked. And even worse, heaven forbid, somebody gets killed or the family gets slaughtered. What the hell do you think's going to happen to the Casino Queen then? Nobody's going to want to come down. So I tell all you ignorant bastards, and I'm turning around looking at you here at City Hall in East St. Louis. You son of a bitches better put these policemen back to work. They tell me, and I don't want to say anything because I don't want to put these police officers in jeopardy. But let me tell you, I was told by some good sources Saturday night in the city of East St. Louis, not the safest city, not because of the police officers, because of the politicians, not because of the police officers, but because of the politicians. They had one officer, do you hear me? And I'm only saying this not to expose them, but it's been exposed already. The city of East St. Louis had one police officer on the street at 10 o'clock Saturday night. Do you hear me? 30,000 people in East St. Louis. And you people in East St. Louis are sitting at home thinking that you're being protected. You're not being protected with one police officer on the street. As soon as he gets a call, there's no police officers. And I would ask Alvin Parks, I would ask Mayor Amika, you stinker like crap, Jackson Hicks, what the hell, if that was your family member, the one police officer out on the street, would you want him to be out there by yourself? Hell no, you would not want him to be out by himself because he's a family member. But let me tell you, every police officer here has a family member that wants them to come home tonight. And you rotten son of a bitches, right out here. And we're in your face, you son of a bitches. We're in your face. We want to know for the good people of East St. Louis. And I don't live in East St. Louis, but I travel through East St. Louis. I shop in East St. Louis. I drive through East St. Louis. I don't shop a little bit. I don't go to the show because Guess what? There is no show. There is no show in East St. Louis. There's no place to go in East St. Louis. And why is that? The riverfront. The riverfront. How valuable is the riverfront? Now, the guys in Belleville, the boys that the people of East St. Louis put in power every 2 and every 4 years, they give $35 million. You hear me, people? $35 million for a development from some gentleman out of Effingham. And I'd have to say he's probably white. And I got to tell you, I'm a proud white man. But it's not black or white. It's wrong or right. And it's wrong what the hell's going on. It's wrong the way the people of St. Clair County have treated the good people of East St. Louis. But what's even worse than that, the people of East St. Louis continue. They continue, you hear me, to support these rotten bastards. Now, it's not just the whites. It's the plantation Negroes. It's the blacks that sell out to the white community and leave East St. Louis, leave Cahokia, leave every black town below the hill, leave them in jeopardy. They don't give a damn. I was a chief in Washington Park. I lived in Belleville. And you can ask anybody. I was out there 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, and people say, "Why are you out there, Chief? Why are you out there?" I said, because even though I don't live in Washington Park, I'm responsible for Washington Park, and every family needs the same protection that my family deserves, and that's what I give them. And that's what's needed down here in East St. Louis. They'll come kissing your ass at election time. Kern, Sprague, all the boys from Belleville will come kissing your ass, the proud black community, at election time. They're not kissing your ass now. They're avoiding you because they don't give a damn. They want to keep the proud people of East St. Louis on the plantation. You tell me that slavery is gone? Are you crazy? Are you crazy? You come down to East St. Louis and you'll see the slavery. You've heard me before, and you've heard the old adage. You give somebody a fish, they eat today. You give somebody a fishing pole, they can be independent and they can eat forever. And that's what's happened down in East St. Louis. And to see these proud men and women in blue having to walk the streets, not so much for a raise, they deserve a decent salary like anybody else. They've laid off 8 police officers in the city of East St. Louis. I believe they're down to 45. They've laid off 8 police officers in East St. Louis. A city of violence, a city with 27 to 30,000 alleged residents. I don't think there's maybe half that many. But East St. Louis is a corridor between St. Clair County, everybody in the outer county, and St. Louis. Now, you can go over the interstate, and you can avoid East St. Louis, but you can't forget about East St. Louis. These policemen are out here. I see white police officers in East St. Louis, black police officers. They're out here on the informational rally. I won't call it a picket because it's not a picket. These guys want to let everybody know what the hell's going on, what they're about. And they're not asking for a $20 an hour raise. They're not asking to have better benefits. They're asking for help for you people in East St. Louis. This is not affecting Belleville at this point until somebody from Belleville drives through East St. Louis going to the Casino Queen, gets his car hijacked, and gets killed, heaven forbid, with one police officer on the street Saturday night at 10 p.m. What the hell? Now, does anybody in East St. Louis, if you don't believe me, come on down here and we'll show you the paperwork. One police officer, and this police officer in East St. Louis was on overtime. Now I got to ask Alvin, and I'm not going to disrespect him because I like for him to come out. He's 50 feet away from me at City Hall. On break, we're going to try to get him. So I'll say, Mr. Parks, the city manager, I'll show you all due respect. Can you come out here and tell me how you can only allow one police officer on the street in the city of East St. Louis? And the policemen are secondary. See, these guys got guns. What about the poor people that are asking for the protection from the proud men and women in blue? They're not getting any protection. I would guarantee you nobody would believe, but come down here, we'll give you the information. Nobody would believe one police officer on a Saturday night at 10 o'clock p.m. in East St. Louis. Doesn't make me feel comfortable coming out of Belleville. I don't go to the Casino Queen, but you know how many cars I see with white folks coming from Belleville down below the hill, going to Casino Queen, giving the Casino Queen money so they can pay taxes to help this impoverished city of East St. Louis? Now, do you people in Belleville and all throughout St. Clair County that pass through East St. Louis, that maybe have passed through East St. Louis on Saturday night? Can you believe there was one? Would you came through East St. Louis if there was one police officer on the street in the city of East St. Louis? That's a shame, people. I don't give a damn if it's East St. Louis or New York City. To have this kind of town with the violence and to have one police officer. And the most egregious part of that, the city fathers did not even put on an emergency bulletin and say, we've got one police officer in the town of East St. Louis. Watch your step. No, they're going to make you feel like East St. Louis is being protected. So Alvin Parks, Mayor Amika, you stinker like crap, Jackson Hicks. Hey, and by the way, Eddie the Gerbil Jackson. And I say gerbil because he's all up these white boy politicians' asses up in Springfield. He don't give a damn about East St. Louis. I know he spends a lot of time. In Glen Carbon, whatever that means. But for you people of East St. Louis, to sit there and take this crap from these political leaders, and I say that tongue in cheek because these bastards aren't political leaders. They're like the political mafia. They don't give a damn. Alvin, he's got a beautiful car. Alvin's making $100,000 a year. Alvin lives in a nice area in Losell Hills. I don't think Alvin gives a damn at this point. But you give a damn. I give a damn. These are people. These aren't black people. These aren't white people. These are good people of East St. Louis who deserve better treatment, but they're not getting it. And, you know, if somebody wants to call, you guys can call 394-1190, toll free, 1-888-394-1430. I want to know, even if you don't like the policeman, that's secondary. Do you like safety? Do you like your families to be safe? Do you like you to be safe? You come through East St. Louis, and how many people that don't live in East St. Louis come through East St. Louis? And I guarantee you, how many of you come through East St. Louis Saturday night at 10, 11, 12 o'clock, going to casinos, going any place, to find that there was one police officer. One, you hear me? One police officer, and that one police officer was overtime, which he makes time and a half. And then when they have to call these policemen in to cover the shifts, they're making time and a half. Why not just bring those 8 policemen back? Why not bring those 8 policemen back? Because I tell you what, these men in blue, these proud men and women in blue, they'll take that overtime. But how long can they sustain? They can't work 7 days a week, 24/7. They'd love to have the money, but even more than the money, I've talked with enough of these guys and women, these police officers out here in East St. Louis. They want the people protected. Money's secondary to them, but it's not secondary to the rotten bastards at the the city hall. Not secondary at all, and it just pisses me off. I got a couple things. And Mayor Carl Officer, thank you, Mayor, for coming by, and I know you're supportive of what's going on with these proud men and women in blue.
Oh, good morning, Bob. It is a beautiful morning in the city of East St. Louis, and there's no doubt, I think every citizen in East St. Louis respects and needs the East St. Louis Police Department. These men and women do a tremendous job under some very difficult situations. You know, you have almost 200,000 cars that cross the Mississippi every day here at East St. Louis and St. Louis. They have to handle everything from traffic to domestic disputes. And fortunately, our schools are back in session now, and you know, the school resource officers are back in the schools. But just look at how much stress they had in the last couple of weeks on a lot of children not being in school every day. And they had to handle just more and more. And I just don't understand the priorities of the city leaders at this point. But yeah, we're very supportive of what the officers are doing today in terms of letting their voices be heard. I think this is the first time I've seen officers collectively come together as a unit. They're not demanding more money. They're not going out on the blue flu or some strike. They're merely letting the citizens know what's going on in their community. And I think the thing that probably is most disturbing to me is the fact that we've hired more employees in other non-essential offices. I mean, it seems to me, no, it doesn't seem to me, it is more politically motivated than it is economically driven. The most important aspect of a city is to protect its citizens, first and foremost. And it would seem to me, before you would lay off the men and women in blue, you would find every available resource in which to keep them protecting the citizens. We don't need a vigilante operation in the city where people are trying to protect their own homes with guns and things of that nature. I just think that there's got to be a better way. I know the numbers pretty well, and at the end of the day, I think that the officers will be more than willing to sit down and renegotiate a better situation so that they can have more men and women on the streets. It is dangerous for any officer to be at the levels that we're at right now.
Yeah.
One officer cannot respond to a call and has no backup.
What do you think, Mayor? You live in East St. Louis.
Yeah.
You were out and about maybe Saturday night at 10 o'clock. Would you have left your house? Would you not have barricaded yourself in your house if you'd have known there was one police officer on the street for the whole city of East St. Louis? And what pisses me off is they don't tell the people. They want to see blood. If there's any blood in these streets, you idiots there at City Hall in East St. Louis, it's on your hands, you no-count rotten bastards. Your families are protected. Every family in East St. Louis needs to be protected. But, Mayor, how egregious. One police officer in the town of East St. Louis on a Saturday night. Everybody in East St. Louis ought to be in uproar. They ought to come and put their foot up every one of these political bastards' ass. And guess what? They couldn't get arrested because there's no policeman. That's what the hell ought to happen. What do you think, Mayor?
Well,
the bitch, it pisses me off.
I see that it's got you a little excited, but I think there probably were more police officers in Millstadt Saturday night patrolling that fine community than we had here. Obviously, there is a disconnect someplace, and I think the disconnect is what we're seeing across the country. People are sick and tired of politics as usual, and what we're seeing is that we're putting the taxpayers, the citizens' lives in jeopardy versus being politically correct for a few people.
Let me ask you this, Mayor. You were around. I think you helped bring the Casino Queen. Now, just hypothetically, there's one police officer on the street. I see many, many cars come down Missouri Avenue going to Casino Queen.
Yeah.
When a family, again, heaven forbid, I hope it never happens, but it could happen. They get hijacked, their car gets hijacked, they get killed. What do you think that's going to do to the revenue of East St. Louis? Because nobody will go to the Casino Queen. I think if I'm the Casino Queen, I give these police officers enough money, because without the police department, this casino will be no good. Once there's a killing in that area, it'll be no good. People will go to the river boats over in St. Louis. So the Casino Queen, you ignorant son of a bitches, it's a money grab for you bastards. Why don't you get involved? Hey, Claiborne, the senator, Foghorn, I say Buckwheat Claiborne, and I said Buckwheat and Eddie the Gerbil Jackson. You guys represent these proud police officers. You represent the people in East St. Louis. Where the hell are you at? You got your asses up in Springfield, hanging around with the white boys, eating at the Hooters. You don't give a damn, and maybe playing with the Hooters. I don't know, but Mayor, it just pisses me off when people say, the hell with East St. Louis. I say how East St. Louis goes today, 10 years ago, and 10 years down the road. How East St. Louis goes is how the future goes. And one last question, and I'm just so pissed off. Why the hell don't they bring $38 million down to the riverfront like they brought to this white, and it's a white-black thing, to the white boy in Effingham who nobody knows? They just give him $38 million. That's going to be a debacle development. Why not put $38 million down on the riverfront so we can see something develop down there, so the people of East St. Louis can be independent of the politicians? You know why, Mayor? Because the boys in Belleville that the people in East St. Louis put in office with an overwhelming vote every 2 and 4 years, they want to keep the blacks on the plantation, and that's exactly what's happening.
Well, to answer your first question,
what was my first question?
I'm trying to keep up. It seems as though at 10 o'clock at night, I'm normally at home, And, there's no secret where I live. I live in East St. Louis, right around the corner from my funeral home. And I heard gunshots Friday night. I heard some last night. I don't think that it is a very positive situation. Anybody who is intent on doing crime in the city, if they know that the police department is reduced to one officer on a Saturday night, that's like an invitation to these young men and women or older thugs who want to participate in some illegal activities. They don't have any fears because nobody's going to come and get them.
Right.
As far as the casino is concerned, there is about 65% of the casino revenues come from people who live throughout southern Illinois who come into East St. Louis every day, right across from where we are right now. Most desired route is right here on Broadway Avenue or what they call River Park Drive to go right down to the casino. It would seem to me that there ought to be some conventional wisdom. You want to protect the biggest taxpayer in the city of East St. Louis is the casino queen. And that you don't want people not going to the casino based upon a fear of safety. And at the end of the day, when you look at the amount of money that we're spending, and I think that's really where the taxpayers are being shortchanged. They're not being told the truth about these layoffs. They're not being told the truth about what's going on with the other hires. It might be easier for these officers to understand, but they're not stupid. They can look and see where we're hiring more people in other departments of the city, money that is from the general fund that can be used to keep and maintain a police officer. What sense does it make to hire somebody, bring somebody in to pay them time and a half when you could have kept somebody on the regular payroll? You're saving money.
Right.
This is not saving the city a nickel. And at the end of the day, finally, I think that you're right. Belleville has not done I have not seen any proposals or any assistance by any of the other elected officials in St. Clair County or throughout from the state level to try to assist this police department and assist the citizens of East St. Louis. I saw in St. Louis where they went to a federal grant from the Department of Justice and got 60 new officers approved for the city of St. Louis. My sources tell me that the representatives in Missouri went and asked the Department of Justice. They also tell me that the representatives from this area had not even entered into a conversation or dialogue on trying to get any of that Department of Justice money. And sad to say that the men who could have had the pipeline, I mean, let's be very candid. Senator Dick Durbin would be more than happy to go to the Department of Justice, but there are some issues that most of you know why he is not interceding at this moment, because when he sees Department of Justice money coming to East St. Louis, he wants to see the overall spending of the city be more, more productive.
Well, let me tell you, Mayor, you're too nice a guy. Eddie Jackson, Claiborne, these bastards could have come down here. They could have got some money. When the boys in Springfield and Chicago, when Madigan, the white boy Madigan says, hey, buckwheat, and hey, gerbil, whenever you guys are going to step and fetch, you're going to step and fetch when I tell you. See, they'll play that proud black crap down here. They go up to Springfield, and all they do is take care of the people in Chicago, the white boys in Chicago. And you're right, Mayor, this has got to stop. The people in Belleville, they'll come down. They'll be down next year election time, and East St. Louis will produce 8,000 votes for those bastards and 500 for the people that are going to try to throw them out of office. I hope the good people of East St. Louis understand what's going on. Hey, we've dedicated this whole day to the proud in support and out of respect for the proud men and women in blue in the great city of East St. Louis. We're going to have Sergeant Mario Fenoy on with us right after the break. But I got to say, Halloween was just over, and this segues into law enforcement, and it segues into me running for state representative. If I'm elected state representative in the 114th district, I'll have legislation. Did you see, Mayor, what happened? Some bastard, some no-count, low-life, good-for-nothing son of a bitch put a razor blade in a candy bar. Now, I guarantee you, I will go to Springfield as crazy as I am, and I will ask for a life sentence. Any no-count son of a bitch that deliberately puts a razor blade in a candy bar so some kid can get cut or maybe die, needs life in prison. These political bastards are too politically correct. I'm politically insane, Mayor. We're going to take it to the new level.
I believe you.
Oh, okay. Never mind. Hey, Mayor Carl Officer, stick around. Right after break, Sergeant Mario Fenoy, he's the president of the police union, Local 126. He'll be right with us after this break. This is Bob Romanik. The Grim Reaper of Radio, and you're listening to the all-new KQQZ 1190 AM, simulcasting on KZQZ 1430 AM, America's bi-state voice of freedom, radical radio. And we are proud to be the Patriot.
From KQQZ 1190 AM, St. Louis, Missouri, USA, you're listening to Bob Romanik, the Grim Reaper of Radio.
This is Bob Romanik, the Grim Reaper of Radio, and you're listening to the all-new KQQZ 1190 AM, simulcasting on KZQZ 1430 AM, America's bi-state voice of freedom, radical radio at its finest. And we are, as always, proud, very proud to be the Patriot. We've dedicated today to the proud men and women in blue in the city of East St. Louis. They never get any positive recognition. When they go out and save somebody's life, you never really hear much about it. But let them make a minor mistake. Let them hit a guy twice instead of one time. Let them maybe kick a guy twice instead of one time when he deserves to be kicked 15 times. That'll make the front page of the paper. People, we got to wise up. Our law enforcement community is under attack. They're under attack by the violent criminals. And even though everyone in law enforcement isn't perfect, we're human beings. Police officers are human beings. They make mistakes. We get rid of the bums with the badges and we move on, because 99% are professional law enforcement officers trying to protect you, your family, me, my family. So they're trying to protect us. Why can't we protect them? But let me say, I've got Sergeant Mario Fenoy. He's the president of the Police Union 126 in East St. Louis. But I have to ask, I know you listen to us up in Springfield. If I was the state representative, Eddie Jackson, you piece of black crap, and I say black because you're black. If you were white, I'd call you white crap. If you're green, I'd call you green crap. Where the hell are you at? Hey, Buckwheat Claiborne, where the hell are you at? Hey, Mark Sweet Cakes Kern, and one day I'm going to let everybody know why. Excuse me. I call that son of a bitch Sweet Cakes. I'm going to let you know, I guarantee you. Where are you bastards at? For the proud people of East St. Louis, you'll come down election day, you'll want their vote. You don't give a damn. You're a hairy-ass, skanky-ass old lady, Aaron Kern, that Sasquatch, that hairy, no-count, good-for-nothing, what politically correct word can I use, skank? What the hell? Where are you at now? You dole off $15,000 to the NAACP so you can go up with your racial attitude back up to Belleville. Come down here as a county board chairman. State Representative Eddie Jackson, I'm challenging you. Get down here right now and call a state of emergency up in Springfield. You and the Senator Foghorn, I say Buckwheat Claiborne. And I want to apologize to Buckwheat, because Buckwheat ain't as bad as your stanky ass. But why? Why don't the state of Illinois, people of East St. Louis, call the governor, call the attorney general? There's a state of emergency down here in East St. Louis, and it's not right this second. But when there's 2 or 3 dead bodies all throughout East St. Louis for lack of police protection, then there'll be a state of emergency. But then there'll be 3 families mourning the death of their family, not yours, you political, no-count, rotten bastards. Sergeant Mario Fenoy, everything I've just said, you attribute to me, not to the sergeant here. Sergeant, you are the president of Local 126.
Yes, I am.
What the hell is going on?
It seems as if we're under attack at this point. They're lowering the minimum manpower. We're supposed to have 8 police officers. That's 2 sergeants, 1 on the desk, 1 on the streets, and 6 police officers, 1 per each of the 6 districts that we have in East St. Louis. But right now, the city manager We've been in constant negotiations with him on trying to get a memorandum of understanding when it's actually time to negotiate contract. What he's trying to do is circumvent the contract. That way we're foregoing our rights with the contract. But with the way they got the manpower set up right now, being they've laid off 8 of our youngest police officers, they pretty much cut the legs out of the police department. The safety of the city is definitely at hand at this point. Instead of having 8 officers, they want to narrow it down to where it's 4 officers and 2 supervisors. But even with those 4 officers, all of them have off days, they have sick days, personal days, accumulated days, and vacations. And once we put all those factors into the element, then you end up with 1 to 2 police officers and maybe 1 supervisor on the street. This past weekend, which was Halloween weekend, we had 1 officer on 12-hour shifts manning the streets of East St. Louis. And it's totally crazy, being that if you just look at the stats now, we're the most dangerous city in the state of Illinois. Our crime index is terrible. When it comes to murders, our national average is 5.6. The average for East St. Louis is 101.9. Maybe you didn't hear me. It's 101.
I did hear you. I wish I hadn't.
The rape in East St. Louis, well, the national average on rape is 32.2. In East St. Louis, it's 251.3. The average on robberies nationally is 195.4. East St. Louis, 1,347 more chances that you'll get robbed in East St. Louis than anywhere else. The violent assaults, 5,847 compared to the national average of 340. Burglaries, 2,442 when the average of the nation is 814. Automobile thefts, 2,067 versus a national average of 526.5.
You know, Sarge, I was an East St. Louis police officer, and there were times when I'd come to work at midnight, and I would be answering calls from 8 o'clock the night before. And I say this on a political note, things haven't changed, but what happens is East St. Louis always shores up the county politicians, and I'm thinking out loud, why the hell don't the county politicians come down here and help East St. Louis, except Election Day, doling out a few dollars? How's the morale of the police department knowing that you have no support from your political leaders when you guys want to go out there, you want to fight crime, you want to get rid of the violence, you want to protect everybody in East St. Louis, but not only do you have to fight the criminals, you got to fight these no-count, rotten son of a bitches, and that's my words, not Sergeant Fenoy's, the no-count, rotten bastard, political, parasitical punks at City Hall. How the hell does morale hold up, Sergeant?
Well, it really tanks morale when it comes to the Board of Elections. You know, we have our own Board of Elections here instead of letting the county handle it. We're paying $500,000 a year for the political machine of elections down here. $500,000? That, you think we can't staff police with that $500,000?
Well, sure, Sergeant, sure you could.
But we're funding them, and you know they're laying off police officers. They laid off 8, but every time I'm looking around here, it's someone else new employee. We got a new employee every time.
Well, you need janitors, because they may stop and nothing against janitors, but they may stop somebody from throwing some trash on the street. So, you know, we don't really need police officers. You really think?
Well, they're not really professional janitors. They're guys.
Politicians, Sergeant.
Well, you said it. You know, and they're in these positions to gather the vote. The vote machine is terrible down here, but the service to the average citizen is just subpar all the way around. There's no way in earth 2 police officers can protect the citizens of East St. Louis, let alone protect themselves.
That's exactly right.
We just, you know, if you got, say you got 4 people, say you have a perfect day and you got all 4 officers at work the way they want to. All it takes is 2 action calls. Action calls anything that requires more than 1 police officer, anything other than a report. If you got a disturbance, you don't send 1 officer on the disturbance, you send 2. So if you got 2 disturbances, which is quite average here, and you can really average about 10 at a time, and we need 20 police officers, but we only have 4, and as soon as they're gone out of service on these 2 calls, the whole city
contact them. You're right.
The whole city's tied up, and you have to wait for them to clear whatever. You know, if it leads to an arrest, that's another 35 to 45 minutes before they can be back in service. If it leads to an injury, then that officer's not coming back.
Sergeant, I'm going to ask you this, and the radio station and I personally, if it takes some money to do it, I think we need to get together. You as the president of the union, and all your guys and gals, all the beautiful people in blue, I will, whatever it takes. If we got to get some buses, we need to let Springfield know that this is an emergency crisis. This wouldn't happen in Springfield. This wouldn't happen in Belleville. Why the hell is it happening in East St. Louis? That pisses me off, and it's not a white-black thing. It's a wrong or right thing, and it's wrong because people are people. I don't give a damn what color. East St. Louis, you people need the proper protection. You're not getting it. You need to get behind Sergeant Fanoa. You need to get behind the East St. Louis Police Department. You need to go to Springfield. Out get some buses. You need to do something because somebody's going to die here, and I'm not being melodramatic. Somebody's going to die, and then it's too late because there's a mourning family. I don't want it to be my family. I don't want it to be your. I don't even want it, Sergeant, to be these rotten bastards, political people's family. What the hell can we? What can we do as people to help the proud men and women in blue in East St. Louis?
What we can do is get out and show support, and the thing is, it's being masked. It's not being mass produced. It's not being told. No one knows. They did nothing to advise the citizens that, hey, we're, laying off 8 police officers, and they didn't properly advise how that would affect police services in this community. And it's almost as if, the police department is under attack to be discredited or even dismantled. But the citizens deserve more, and like I said, every time you look up, it's a new person being hired, but they're laying off, and they're still not showing an audit yet. And they're saying that they're strapped for cash, but there's no demonstration of it on paper. They're refusing to do audits. They're refusing to turn over their books, and it's just terrible.
Well, who's that coming up? Huh? Hey, hold on. We got Alvin Parks out here, and I know he's going to want to come and talk to us. Alvin, come on. We need to talk to you. Come on. We're going to take you. We'll hold you at your word. I think we're going to get Mr. Parks over here, and maybe he can explain something.
I know immediately where you can bring these 8 officers back immediately.
How's that, Mayor?
Refuse to pay the Board of Elections.
That's a great idea. We don't need this politics any more than we have in East St. Louis.
East St. Louis Board of Elections is more important than the police officers. That tells you right then and there that they're bought and paid for by the county.
That's
$500,000. The county will be able. They're not going to send $500,000 worth of sheriff's deputies out there.
We're going to take a quick break. I'm going to try to go over and get Alvin Parks here momentarily. We'll be back right after this break. This is Bob Romanik. The Grim Reaper of radio, and you're listening to the all-new KQQZ 1190 AM, simulcasting on KZQZ 1430 AM, America's bi-state voice of freedom, radical radio at its finest, and we are, as always, proud, very proud to be the Patriot.
From KQQZ 1190 AM, St. Louis, Missouri, USA, you're listening to Bob Romanik, the Grim Reaper of radio.
This is Bob Romanik, the Grim Reaper of radio, and you're listening to the all-new KQQZ 1190 AM, simulcasting on KZQZ 1430 AM, America's bi-state voice of freedom, radical radio, and we are, as always, proud, very proud to be the Patriot. Hey, I have to say, sitting with me, and I will not lampoon him. And when I lampoon Alvin Parks, it's not out of disrespect, because I know he's a good family man. I know he comes from a great family. His mother was a great lady. But I lampoon them because they're politicians. And politicians from the president on up and down get lampooned. And I have to say, I have to compliment, and I'll give him all the due respect, I have to compliment the city manager, Alvin Parks. He told me he'd come up and talk to us, and the gentleman's a man of his word. He's right here. So, Mr. Parks, I want to thank you for being a man of your word.
Glad to be with you, Bob.
Mayor, I'm sorry, not mayor, city manager, Alvin Parks. Well, no, you're a mayor, so I'll say mayor. Mayor, shouldn't you guys declare this an emergency situation out here? Did you know one police officer on the street Saturday night at 10 o'clock? Did you know that up until now?
I knew that we had a couple of scheduling issues. I know that there were a couple of points that we had one, even two officers on the street. But I do know that our chief of police, Colonel Michael Hubbard, along with the public safety director, Todd Fulton, and the police department's administration, is working through this issue of the scheduling, because a big part of this is simply scheduling. They're going to have to do some things, and we're going to have to do some things to make sure that we fill the shifts, in some cases with detectives, in some other cases with command staff, in some other cases making sure that our outside agencies like the Illinois State Police are there to provide whatever assistance they can provide.
But, you know, they're sharp, too, though, Mayor.
They are.
And I would ask you this, and I'm going to put you on the spot, and you can say you don't have a comment, but I do appreciate you taking the time. Why doesn't the city of East St. Louis disband the election board? Automatically, it saves the city money, it puts more policemen on the street, and more than that, it protects the good people of East St. Louis. Don't you think, and don't the political leaders, and I know you work for the political leaders, don't they think that these families out here deserve the best protection they can get?
Well, the first thing, Bob, is that the citizens of East St. Louis have chosen twice in the last 3 years to actually keep the Board of Elections.
So that's through politics, though, Mayor. You know that. Come on.
It's through politics, and everything is through politics.
Well, that's true. I'll agree with you.
Yeah, so what we have to do is acknowledge the fact that the citizens kept the Board of Elections, and we have to work with that factor in our budget. With that said, one of the things that we've got, Bob, and I know you don't have time for a long discussion.
Well, no, but we got time for you, Mayor. Go ahead.
Okay, well, it's real quick. When you talk about where we stand budgetarily, it's real simple. You can't continue to spend what you don't have. You can't continue to have expenses that are outpacing revenues. So you have to bring down expenses and you have to bring up the revenues. It's a real simple equation, but it's not easy.
But wouldn't you rather have 3 less custodians and 2 less people on the TIF directory board, or 2 less this and have 8 more policemen protecting the people? You personally, wouldn't you rather have that?
Well, there's no question that the public health and public safety is always priority number one. Nothing else even comes close. So that's why we are making the sacrifices. That's why the city government over the years has made the major sacrifices to keep police, to keep firemen, to keep public works intact, because you've got to protect your community. The key to this is we have to do something that's going to be good for the long-term viability of the city. You have to look at restructuring the contracts that we currently have with the police department. We don't have 70,000 people anymore. We don't even have 40,000 people anymore. We have 27,000. With that said, you have to acknowledge that you need fewer people to do the protecting and serving of the community, because you don't have the tax base to support it as if you had the tax base to support 40,000. So once we come to that acknowledgement, and that's something that the firefighters did do when negotiating a new memorandum of understanding. We brought the minimum man staffing down from 58 down to 43. We brought the minimum man staffing from 12 down to 9 on each shift. That is an acknowledgement, and it's tough for us to even meet those requirements.
But Mayor, here's what I would say to that. And I'm an ex-East St. Louis police officer. I was proud to be an East St. Louis police officer. When you say the population's down, the population is down, because the decent people that can move out of East St. Louis have moved out of East St. Louis. The decent blacks that can't move are staying there. But you know what stayed constant? The criminal element. The criminal element hasn't moved out of East St. Louis. It's the same criminal element. That's right, there's less population, but there's just as many criminals. So I think that's I don't think that's a good policy to have. Just because there's less people, you need less protection. I don't always believe that to be true.
Well, I agree with you, Bob, but I'm going to throw it right back in your lap. You're not only a former policeman, you're a former chief of police.
That's true.
You were administrative.
Right.
You had to look at budgets. If you didn't have it, did you spend it?
Yes, we did. And we got it through the tax base. But here's what I'd ask to that. And I'm telling on myself, I was the chief of police. I ran for coroner, so the powers to be made me the public safety director and made somebody else the chief. They give me that money, and you know what I did for that money? I'm embarrassed. I did nothing. I politicked for coroner. I got to be honest. And I would ask you on this point, and I don't know your new public safety director. I'm sure he's a decent man, but I would ask, Mayor, why would, not maybe you because you're not one of the elected officials at this point, why would the elected official think they need a public safety director when they need policemen?
Well, one of the things that we're doing, Bob, and I'm not going to get into the particulars of each move that we make
I understand.
personnel-wise, but I will say that we're looking everywhere. One of the first moves that I had to make as city manager is immediately cut 7 positions in terms of laying off people out of the budget.
Yeah.
They weren't police, they weren't fire, they were administrative. So we did that because we said, let's look everywhere but public health and public safety first. Then we had to look at public health and public safety because the police and fire departments comprise about 80% of the general revenue fund. So you have to say at some point, if you're going to make a real discernible difference when it comes to the budget, you have to look at where most of the budget happens to be. With that said, if we can form some kind of a long-term agreement with the police department, we would do everything we can to bring them back as quickly as possible. We need those 8 officers.
Okay, but I ask you at this point, and I appreciate that you taking the time, Mayor Parks, what are you going to do right now with one police officer on the street last Saturday? Don't you think it's time to have a state of emergency in East St. Louis?
No, it's not a state of emergency, Bob. What has to happen is we've got to do some rescheduling. There's some rescheduling that right now our chief of police, the administration of the police department are all working on to come up with a new schedule that makes sense to make sure that officers are where they need to be when they need to be there. In the meanwhile, I'm looking forward to sitting back down with the union. In fact, I talked with the union president yesterday, and we said, let's get back together. I understood that this was going to be happening. This was already out of the gate. Plans were being made for this, and I'm okay. Freedom of speech is always a good thing.
Yes, it is. Do you and since we put it out, and it's been for publication a couple days ago, I never would have put it out because these police officers, their lives are in jeopardy every day. I don't care if there's 50 police officers on the street, but when the crap bums, I can't use the word I'd like to, when they're out here on the street, they know these police officers are vulnerable. What the hell is going to be done today, Mayor? Because there could be a killing tonight, somebody going to the Casino Queen. That dries up your revenue. What's going to be done right now to alleviate that problem?
There's going to be a schedule change. And that schedule change, I believe, is going to go into effect almost immediately. But in addition to that, Bob, you do have command staff that can come out anytime, day or night, to support the safety of the city.
Where was the command staff Saturday night?
I guess they were all tied up, but I do know.
Well, that would sound like a sexual thing to me. I've been go ahead.
But I do know this. I want to give our chief of police credit. He was out Saturday night. And he
should have been. That's good.
He was out till about 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning that night. And there were others who accompanied him. There were others who changed their shift to be there. So the most important thing, Bob, is making sure that people who are in these positions know what they've got to do. If you're a captain or lieutenant or the chief of police, you're the police, and you never stop being the police.
You protect and serve, no matter what rank you have. That's right.
No matter what administrative responsibilities, if you are certified as a police officer in this city, you are on board, coming out whenever you need to come out.
Okay, one last question, and I'm going to give you the last word. And I do, City Manager Alvin Parks, I appreciate you because I know we've not had words personal. It's all been political. But you are a stand-up man. You give me your word, you'd come out on the air, and you have, so I'm going to salute you for that. But what's going to be done? Is this going to be taken care of today so people can be protected tomorrow? Will these police officers be back on the street so the people have proper protection?
Bob, you asked 2 questions.
Give me 2 answers.
Okay, I'm going to give you the first answer. Yes, it is going to be taken care of today in terms of the scheduling changes that are needed to make sure that police are where they need to be, when they need to be there, because these citizens, these businesses, the corporate citizens, the public entities, the schools are back in session. The kids deserve to make sure that they are protected.
Right.
That's number 1.
Okay.
Number 2, I'm not going to say that they're going to be, the 8 officers who were laid off are going to be back today. Don't know that.
Okay, so what are you doing in the people of East St. Louis deserve protection every day. If you're feuding with the police and back and forth, we understand that. That's just life. But the people out here in the street that have their kids walking the street, they're going shopping. how are they going to feel safe in East St. Louis if something's not done immediately?
Well, here's what's going to happen, Bob. Again, the police are going to be where they need to be when they need to be there. What we need to do is make sure that the union and the management of the city get together as quickly as possible. They can never say that we're not willing to meet. I love these guys. Love them. They protect me and my family.
Yeah, my mom loved me too, but she beat the hell out of me. I think that's what you're doing to these guys right now. But, hey, City Manager Alvin Parks, I appreciate your time. I'll give you the last word to the good citizens of East St. Louis.
Two things. It's about the public health and public safety, and it has to be done in a fiscally responsible way. You can't continue to spend what you don't have. So we have to come up with a new agreement, a memorandum of understanding that the police can work with and that the city can work with.
City Manager Alvin Parks, your stand-up guy today. Mayor, I'll call you Mayor. Thank you very much for your time, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bob.
Carl Officer, why don't you come back with us? And then we've got another gentleman from the police department, Patrolman Randolph. I'm sorry. He'll be with us momentarily. You know, Mayor, I got to say, I got to give Alvin Parks credit. He didn't duck me. He came on, and I think that's the problem. If these politicians would be more transparent, maybe we would understand what's going on. Now, I didn't agree with what the mayor was saying because this situation can't be, this is not Dancing with the Stars, dancing with the politicians. We can't dance around the situation, the serious situation that's going on in East St. Louis. It has to be resolved right now. What's your take, Mayor?
I disagree with you. I think this was Dancing with the Stars. This was nothing but a show act.
No, I said that. I said, yeah, this is not dancing, which he tried to, dance around.
I mean, people can tell me a lot of things. Telling me about how you run a city is not one of them. You can't sit here today on the 2nd of November and say, well, we need to renegotiate the contract. 6 months ago, 5 months ago, that was not the conversation that the mayor had. This situation didn't just come about. We didn't all of a sudden lose money in the last 3 to 4 months. This money has been going out. And without laying any blame anywhere, when I listened to the conversation about the Board of Elections, the voters voted it down. 3,100 people in East St. Louis said, no, we don't need a Board of Elections. The politicians in East St. Louis counted the votes and pushed the vote through. There's not one single logical reason that the East St. Louis Board of Elections needs to exist. Right now, if St. Clair County, the only reason the Board of Elections exists is for the Democratic Party in St. Clair County, not for anybody else. You could let me finish. You could hire 8 officers, you could hire 16 officers right now, and it wouldn't cost the city another nickel for what we're paying for some politicians to get reelected. And right now, every one of my friends, and I do it, they're my friends, who are running for reelection as precinct committeemen all over the city, are all getting their petitions signed right now. And you know what? It wouldn't cost a dime for them to drive. It would cost them out of their pocket, but not the taxpayers, to drive up to Belleville to file their papers there. You're not going to see the St. Clair County Sheriff's Department coming down here patrolling these streets. Yeah. You're not going to see the Illinois State Police coming down here patrolling these streets. Only the men and women of the East St. Louis Police Department are going to be able to do it. If they want to know how to do it right now, to bring the officers back right now, okay, fine. The voters did not vote to get rid of the Board of Elections. Then we ought to tell the 5 members of the city council, don't write the check anymore to the Board of Elections. I guarantee you, Mark Kern and the rest of the county, they will find somebody to come down here so they can make sure they get their stuff taken care of. They're not concerned about these 8 officers. We need not 8, we need 16 more officers. Let's quit playing around this thing talking about, well, we need the 8 officers back. They were undermanned at the 8.
Okay, Mayor, I appreciate that. We're going to talk with Patrolman Randolph, I'm sorry. But before we do, why don't they put on the ballot, and this is rhetorically, of course, why don't they put on the ballot, do you want an East St. Louis election board, or do you want your citizens, your family protected from crime? I think they would. I think the East St. Louis election board would be gone if they would structure a vote that way, don't you?
Well, I think that the East St. Louis police officers probably what the police and fire ought to do immediately is talk to their attorneys about getting a petition to have it on the March ballot.
That's what should be.
To see how that goes. Since they want to,
and not be confusing like last time.
Not be confusing if they want to go. But right now, to put the safety of the citizens first, you don't need a vote on the ballot. All you need is 3 men and women with some guts to walk into the city council chambers and say, we're voting not to expend any more money for the East St. Louis Board of Elections, period. That's $500,000 freed up right there out of this so-called stressful budget. Now, you don't have to be a genius. I agree with Alvin. You can't spend more than you're taking in. But he's been here for 8 years.
Yep.
He's been here taking in the money, and he's been here spending the money.
The Patriot.
Your First Amendment and All-American station. A division of Insane Broadcasting. Renegade Radio.
KQQZ, St. Louis.